start with the architecture of this page. So for now, what I did is I created an OmniScript, then I created a community, and I dropped the OmniScript in the community page. If you see the left side, here we have the steps, and I show you in the last video, we can put these steps on the left side, on the right side, or at the top. Then on the right side, we do have this text block. Text blocks is basically something, it's kind of a rich text area where you can display, some information to the user. Then we do have a simple text box. We do have an email input. We do have the radio input. We do have the currency input, so that if you can see, as soon as I'm typing something, it is converted to the dollars. Then we have something called multi-select, because he can select more than one location as the preferred location. Let's go to the next page. Here we do have edit blocks. So in the edit block, you can see the information in kind of a table, and you can add the new new records if you want. So let me try this. Oops. Okay, so you can add as many as records you want. Then if you goes to the next page, here we have certifications. We are first asking, do you have any certificate? And if user replies yes, then we are giving him options to fill the details. He can also add more than one certificate, and for now we are allowing maximum 3 certificates. Here we are using something called blocks. So in the blocks, we have enabled the repeat property so that they can add more and more and more. And there is also a property where we can specify, how many maximum block items they can add. Then let's go to next page, and here we have the file uploads. This is also available in OmniScript, and we just dropped it here. Then let's go to acknowledge page, and on the acknowledgement page, we do have something called disclosure. This is again an inbuilt input in OmniScript that you can configure. And at the last, we have confirmation. On the confirmation, we are just displaying that your application has been submitted successfully, and when we will be attaching it with the data raptor, we will also display the ID of the new application or the application number, something, right? And again, here we are using just the text block to display this information. Hope this is clear. Now let's go and let's start creating this OmniScript. So if you go to the OmniScript tab and you click on new, you will be asked for few fields, right? This is the name of the OmniScript, and one thing to notice here is this name does not specify the uniqueness of OmniScript. So basically what I'm trying to say is you can have multiple OmniScripts with the same name. The uniqueness of any OmniScript is defined by 3 things: type, subtype, and language. As I told you earlier, when we activate the script, basically Salesforce converts it to a LWC component, and the name of LWC component is type plus subtype plus language. That's why it should be unique. Then we can provide the description. So let's start it, let's call it intake form, or let's call it application form. Intake or application forms. Then type can be application and subtype can be intake form. Let's go and save it. Okay, so this is this OmniScript is created. Now first step, what we need to do is we need 6 steps. So to drop any steps to the canvas, what we need to do is we need to go to groups, and under the groups you can find out step. There is one more way to find out any element, and that is search here. So we can search for step and we can drop it. Then let's go and let's drop 6 steps here. We have 3, we have 4, we have 5, and we have 6 now. Let's look at some properties of step. So if we see, we do have names, we do have label, chart label, and some instructions if you want to provide. Name is nothing, but this is kind of the API name. So what happens is when you run this OmniScript, as I told you, it generates the JSON, right? So whatever the name of this step is, it will basically create a new node under that JSON, and whenever you drop any new elements inside this step, they will be under that node. Now let's see the field label. So field label is basically what appears here. So basically this is the field label, and chart label is basically what appears here on the steps. Now if you do not provide the chart label, the field label becomes the chart label itself. Okay, so for now what I will do is I will give field label as personal info, and name will be personal information. Chart label I will leave it blank so that my chart label is personal information. If we want to provide some instructions, we can do that, but for now it is not needed. Then we do have the button properties. On the button properties, if you want to change the label of previous button, next button, or let's say we do not want any button on the screen. So for example, let's say I do not want the next button here, then I will decrease its width to 0 and it is disappeared. But as this is the first step, I definitely want it, so I will reset it. Then we do have the label for save for later. So if we go here and let's go to, okay, I do not have the save for later button enabled on this script, but you can, if you want this button, you can add it, and you can change the label for save for later. And when you click on the save for later button, you can select whatever the text you want there. Then we have knowledge options, error messages, messaging framework, and conditional view. The knowledge options and error messages, we will be covering these when we will be going to data raptors, and the same for messaging framework. The conditional view, we will be doing it on the the certificate step. So for now, let's go and let's configure the name and field label for the remaining steps. So this should be education info, and label should be education information. Then we have third, which is, I think, which was certificates. Yes, certification. Then we have documents. Then we have acknowledgement, and at last we do have the confirmation. Okay, let's preview it, and we can see that we get all these 6 steps. It is taking few seconds, but it should be here soon. Okay, so you can see one thing I think we missed is we do have these steps on the right side, but if we see our existing script, this is on the left side. So let's go and configure that also. That is available under the setup option, and here we do have step chart options. So I will make it on the left side. Now let's go and let's try to configure the personal information. So on the personal information, first we need is the input for name, and for that you can go to inputs and you can drop a text here. Okay, so let's quickly see the property of these elements also. We do have name, which is again the API name or the label or the key of the JSON. Then we do have the label. What do we want the label of this element? If we want to put any placeholder, we can do that. If you want to make it required or read only, we can do that. And if you want to add any default value to this element, we can also do that. We can also mask it. If it is a password, we can specify the minimum length or the maximum length that the user can type in this text box. The repeat property we will be covering on the certification section. On the help, we can activate the help option so that he do see a help icon next to label, and he can find out some more information about this field. So you can see this help icon is appeared now. Then we do have the validation options. If you want to put any regex, for example, what kind of text this text box should accept, then we can use the patterns and we can we can give the pattern error text if the pattern is not matched. And then we do have the conditional view, which we will be covering on the certification section. Now let's go and give it set first name, and label will be first name. Then we need the text box for the last name, and we do have two options. Either we can drop one more text box, or we can just simply clone it, right? And I will change the name and label here. Now what else we do have on this page is, let's see. Okay, so we have email gender. So for the email we have an input called email, which we will be dragging and dropping here. Okay, so I will call it let's say email personal email. Then let's drop the radio for gender. Okay, so mostly the properties are common across the elements, but sometimes they are different also. So for example, for this radio we need to tell what options should this radio has, and for that we have something called option source. It can be of three types. It can be custom, means the radio options can come from a Apex class. It can be manual, means we can add the options here itself, and it can be as object, so that it is the options are coming from an object. So for now I will set it as manual, and I will add it male, and label should be male. We have two more options when we add we do have two more properties when we add any option. One is used as default value. So if you select this, when this page loads, this value will be auto selected. Then we have auto advance. So if you want that when you select this value, you want to go to the second step or the next step automatically, then you can use this auto advance. But we are not going to use this for now. Let's add the value for female also. Okay, now we can also control how can we put or how can we display these options. Right now these are vertical, but if you want them horizontal, you can do this. If you want to add some images behind them, you can also do this. So if you make it as image, you can see this is converted to kind of boxes, and which can have some background image. Okay, so let's go ahead and make it horizontal for now. Okay, what else we have? We have the expected CTC next. For that we have a input, and it is called currency. So we'll drop it here. Okay. Okay. And then last I do have preferred location, which is a multi-select. So I will call it as location. Okay, so same as the radio buttons, we can also configure the source, and it is also same custom, manual, and as object. Now I will be adding here three values. It's Delhi, next is Mumbai, and Hyderabad. Okay, and I want them as image so that they appeared as blocks. I do not have any images of these cities, so I will leave that blank. But if you want to select the image, what you can do is you can again click on this option, and now you will get the option to upload an image, or you can select any existing image. Okay, now let's go and preview this. Okay, as you can see, all the items that we added are appearing here, Okay, one thing we forgot to add is the instructions. So let's go back and do that. So for that we will be using the text block. Okay, and we'll copy this text for now and we will paste it inside the text. You can style it as you want. So I will give it a background color and I will change the font color also. You can make it bold, you can make it italic or whatever you need. You can also add some list or image or links here. Let's preview it again. So we can see our whatever the elements we dropped, it is appearing now. Now let's see how the JSON is getting generated. So if you see this data JSON, our personal information is already coming here, and this is coming for we do have only radio 1 because we did not change the name of this radio button. So let's go and do that first. So it should be male and label should be male. Okay, you can see the change now. So as soon as we add some information here, you can see this is getting updated under personal information, because personal information is the name of this step, right? Let's see, add the last name and you can see this is appearing here. If we select any preferred location, you can see it is also appearing under the JSON. Now let's go and now configure the educational information. Okay, so on the educational information, if we see, we do have something called edit block. So for that you can either go under groups or you can search it here. Okay, so I will drop the edit block here. Now in the edit block you do have some properties. We have name, we have label, then we have if you want to allow the user to add new records or edit the existing records or delete the existing records, we can change that. If we want to change the button label for new, edit or delete, we can also do that. And then we do have some more properties which we will be covering later. Now inside this edit block, or when we click on this add new, you can see we do have 3 fields, right? So we can drop these fields inside the edit block. For now let's change the label and the name of this edit block. So it should be called, let's say, degree name, or let's say degree. Now what I will do is I will drop few more elements inside this edit block. So the first is, it will be a text and block, but if I try to drop it, you can see it is not allowing me, right? So for that, what I need to do is I need to edit this first by clicking on this pencil icon, and now I can drop anything inside this text block. So let me drop it here now. Okay, you can see it is dropped inside, right? Now I want it to be, let's say, degree name. Then I want to drop a pick list, or we can call it single, or we call it select. I will drop it inside and it will tell me the institute name. Okay. Same as radio button, we can also configure the options here. So for now I will add IIT Delhi. And IIT Mumbai. Okay, and then I will drop a number here for the passing year. Okay. Now I will try to adjust all this so that I can I can make them in a single line instead of 3 lines. Okay, here you go. Okay, so one thing also I will tell here is, if you will notice, you will find out the active button on all the elements. Doesn't matter if it is a step or it is a text block, or it is a it's a text input or email or radio button or anything, right? You will find out active on everything. It can be used for something good. So let's say we want something only in the sandbox or only in the developer orgs, but we do not want it in the production. Then what we can do is we can drop it here, and instead of deleting it, we can just deactivate it on the production. Okay. Now let's preview this once. Okay, so I will not fill this information and I will go here. Now you can see is one difference between this new OmniScript and this existing one is, you can see the labels here on the table, but we are not able to see it here. The reason behind that is we need to configure it, right? So for that we can click on this edit block and we can go elements inside edit block, and here we need to select which elements or which labels do we want to be appeared on the table, right? So I will select all and I will preview it now. And now you can see all these labels are coming as the columns of this table, and if you want to create the new value, you can also do that, right? So hopefully this is cleared. Now let's go to the certification. Okay, so if you go to certification, we do have something called conditional. So conditional means when you select this checkbox, then only you can add the certificates, otherwise you cannot, right? So this is we will be doing this using the conditional view. Okay, so for now let's drop a checkbox here, and the label of this checkbox will be do you have any certificate? Yes, have certificate. Okay, and then we need to drop something called block. Okay, so this block is nothing but it's kind of it's a group of few more elements which can be dropped inside this block, and when you clone this block, basically whatever is inside this, everything will be cloned. Okay, so let me show you how we can do this. So for now, if we see our existing script, we need a certification name text and the expiry date date input. So let's drop that first. So we want a text which is called certiname, certificate name, and then we want a date. It's called expiry date, and let's again adjust this so that we can have it in a single line. Okay, now we need to conditionally show this block. Oh, so one more thing we need to configure is the label for this block. So let's call it certificate. Okay, now one thing we need to notice here is look at the label of this block, right? As soon as we add any new item, you can see Salesforce attached a number behind this, right? And if you add one more, it is just increasing the counter, right? So it was certificate 1, then certificate 2, and then certificate 3. So basically what happens is whatever is the label of this block, Salesforce will be appending the numbers after that label. Okay, so if we delete these two, you can see this number is also disappeared from the first block, right? So this number comes only when you have more than one blocks. Okay, now we do have a property called repeat. So if we enable, so right now let's try to preview it once. Okay, let's go next. So we can see we are not getting the buttons to add new certificates, right? So for that we need to enable the repeat setting. So if we goes to this block and we enable the repeat setting, here you can see this add button is appeared, right? Now we can also tell the limit repeat, which means how many times the user can repeat this, right? So if you want only 3 certificates, this means he can repeat it 2 times, and we already have 1, right? So it will become 3. If we say it 3, then basically the user can repeat it 3 times, and we already have it once, so it will be 4, right? But we want it only for 3 times, that's why I will call it 2. Now you can also check this checkbox which says clone when repeating. It means whatever the values we are adding or whatever the values we are filling in this inside elements, that information or that data will also repeat, okay, or that will be cloned. But I do not want that, that's why I will deselect this checkbox. Now let's preview this if it is working fine. Okay, so now you can see I am able to repeat this, and once it becomes 3, I do not have any more add button, right? So this is working fine. Now one more thing we need to do on the certification page is the certificate should be conditional. Means if the user select this checkbox that yes, he has any certificate, then only he should be able to add the certificates, otherwise not, right? So for that we do have something called conditional view. So if we see the conditional view, it is condition type, it has only one value, show element if true, which means if the condition is true, then only show this block, otherwise do not show. For the block we only have one condition type, but if we goes to any other element, we have 3 conditions type basically. So this is show element if true, which means show the element only if the condition is meeting. Disable read only. So sometimes what we do is we make a input disabled by clicking read only here, okay, but let's say we want it to remove the disabled property at some condition, then we can use this. Sometimes we also want to make the field required, but it should be on some condition, right? If we want that, then we can select the set element to required if true. But for now we want this block, it should appear only if this checkbox is true. That's why we will select show element if true, and we will be adding some condition. So for the condition, we first need the name of this checkbox, which is have certificate. So I will copy this for now. I will go to this block and I will click on this show element if true. Now here we can add the condition. So my only condition in this case is if this have certificate is equal to true, then only display this block, right? If you have multiple conditions, then you can add few more conditions. You can you can tell do you want it in the end or you can have your own custom logics, right? But for now we just have one condition, that's why I will leave it, and I will click on save. Now as soon as you make this element as conditional, you will see one orange eye will appear this. Okay, now let's try to preview this if it is working. Okay, let's go to next, and yeah, you can see we do not have the block here, but as soon as we check this checkbox, it will appear, and if we deselect this, it will disappear. Okay, now let's go to the next screen, which is documents. So for the documents, we have something called file, which we can drop here. Okay, so it will allow us to upload the documents, and I will call it offer letter, or I will call it previous offer letter. The label will be previous offer letter. Okay. Again, we can tell if this is required or not required, and we do have the content parent ID. Means if we want to, and not if, we definitely need to attach this document to any specific record, right? So we need to provide the ID of that record here. Right now, I will be providing this ID when I will be configuring this configuring this OmniScript with a data raptor. Because what we will do there is, when in the data raptor, when the user complete this personal information and he clicks on next, we will create a contact, and in the documents we will give the ID of that contact, so that these documents can be attached to the same contact. Okay, but for now I'm not doing that, and I will drop one more file for, let's say, for the degree certificate. Okay, and it should be certificate. Okay, now one more thing I will tell here is, if we are previewing this OmniScript, then the documents or the files does not work. So you cannot upload any new document or any new file when you are previewing this OmniScript. If you want to see a real demo, then you need to activate this script, and you need to drop this script to any community page or to a lightning page, and there only you can upload the document. Okay. Now let's go to the acknowledgement part. Here we will drop something called disclosure. Okay. And you can set the label, you can set the body, and you can set the label of this checkbox. Okay, so let's call it acknowledgement. Acknowledge. Okay, and it should be acknowledgement, and then text should be, let me copy it from there. Okay, and I want the label of this checkbox should be I agree. Okay, that is done now. If you want to make this required, you can also do that. And that's it. Now the last step is the confirmation. So basically we will be dropping a data raptor between the acknowledge and the confirmation steps, so that we can save the information till here, and then we can display the application number on the confirmation screen, right? So for now what I will do is, I will drop a text block here, and I will write your application is submitted successfully. Okay, that's it. Now let's go and preview the whole script once. Okay, so you can see we do have the personal information, then we do have the education information, and we can add new records to that. Then we have the certifications, and we can add 3 certificates here. Then we can upload 2 documents. Then we can give acknowledgement to all the information, and then at last we see the confirmation information. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see what did we cover till here. So we did not cover any actions, because actions we will be covering in the data raptors video. We have covered the text block. Okay, let's quickly see what this line break is. So let's say I want some space between first name and the last name. What I will do is I will drop a line break. Okay, and at the line break I can also tell how many pixels the space should be. So let's say there should be 10 pixels between these two elements. Then I will put it 10. Okay, then functions we will be covering later. Groups we have already covered. Blocks, actions action block we will be covering in the data raptor. We already covered edit blocks, steps. I will have a separate video on the type ahead blocks. Then if it goes to inputs, we have covered most of them, but we still have a few things to cover. One is lookup, and then we have date time, which is very similar to date. And then we have passwords and few more, right? So I will try to cover the lookup in a separate video, okay? But all other are almost similar. The last thing here is the OmniScript. So if you want to drop any other existing OmniScript inside this, you can also do that, right? So you can drag and drop a existing OmniScript here, okay? But I do not want that for now, so I will delete. Okay. So in this video we created this intake form, and in the next video we'll try to attach it, or we'll try to configure the data raptor so that we can save all this data. Okay. So till then, bye bye and stay tuned.